Hello and welcome to Freud's theory of psychosexual development. Last time we looked at Freud's theory of personality, the id, the ego and the superego, and we talked about defense mechanisms. Today we're going to look at psychosexual stages in development. Let's recap Freud's original idea then. So he sees the personality of being constructed of these three elements. The id, which is our drive, our libido, is the thing that makes us want to eat and drink and so forth. And the superego, this uber moral principle that tells us what right is and wrong is. And these two are in constant conflict. And it's the ego's job to keep the peace and keep the balance. Too much id can drive us into overindulging, and too much superego can turn us into, monks. So the balance is necessary. Remember, Freud says the majority of this is not available for conscious inspection. It's completely under the radar, unconscious, and you can only actually uncover elements of this via things like hypnosis, free association, and dream analysis. It's an incredibly influential theory. It's done a huge amount of, it's been highly inspirational and has led to a number of different theories and pieces of research. What we're going to talk about today is the stage development theory, and this theory also has benefits in that it encouraged stage development theories in other fields. Right, psychosexual development. There are three main stages. These are the oral stage, the anal stage, and the phallic stage. And then they're followed by two subsequent stages, the latency period and the genital stage. So we're going to talk about each of these in turn. The oral phase is from 0 to 18 months. And if you've ever seen a baby, the first thing they do when you give them an object or they touch your hand is they try and put it in their mouth. Babies explore the world through biting and sucking and feeding. Then they move on, according to Freud, to the anal stage at 18 months, 36 months. This is characterized by a focus on retention and expulsion of feces, and Freud says this is a proxy for developing early control beliefs. The phallic stage comes at about 3 to 6. Now, phallus means penis, so he's primarily talking about boys here, but the phallic stage does occur in girls as well, according to Freud. Boys and girls experience pleasure and self-exploration and early sexuality at this stage. This is followed by the latency period, where not much activity really occurs, and then this is peaked by the genital stage, which occurs at puberty. And this is where we are independent and learn to deal with members of the opposite sex in a mature way. So we go through these stages one at a time. The most important stage for Freud was the phallic stage, and he coined the term Oedipus complex to really explain his ideas. These are in some ways his most controversial ideas, but they're also massively widely misunderstood. So the Oedipus complex is a term he uses for females and males at this particular stage, and it refers to the unconscious desire to possess the boy, to possess his mother exclusively and get rid of his father. He takes his theory further and says that irrationally the boy fears that his father will find out and his father will castrate him, and therefore this castration anxiety is what leads the boy to, out of fear, identify and almost suck up to the dad and act like him and be like him, so that he won't castrate him, and that is the driving force of the Oedipus complex. I know it sounds a little weird, and there is not a huge amount of evidence for the Oedipus complex, but there is certainly from evidence of childhood experiences and their effect on later life. Male relationships to their mum and their dad do have huge implications for their later behaviour and development. So the little boy sets out, he imitates his father, he starts acting masculine, and this is called identification. And essentially, the boy adopts the values and attitudes of the father. The consequence of this is actually the boy becomes a man and he takes on the male gender role. He adopts the ego ideals and values that become the superego. And in this way he develops his morality. Freud believed that boys had a higher sense of morality than girls. Oedipus. In females, it wasn't Freud, it was actually Jung who coined the term Electra complex. Freud didn't like it, he called them both the Oedipus. But for Jung, the Electra complex is, the explanation is really less than satisfactory. Girl desires the father but realises she does not have a penis, obviously. This leads to the development of penis envy and the wish to be a boy. The girl resolves this by repressing her desire for her father and substituting the wish for a penis for the wish for a baby. It's as clear as day. The girl blames her mother for her castrated state, and this creates tension. The girl then represses her feelings and identifies as a mother to take on the female gender role. So, not obvious by any stretch of the imagination, but much of this theory was developed from hypnosis and dream analysis and Freud's own childhood experiences. One of the claims is that Freud was struggling to reconcile feelings he had for his mother as a boy, and one way you can reconcile them is if you say that everyone has them, whether they do or not. Right, this is actually quite an interesting concept, and it's the idea that what happens if we get stuck at a stage, if we get fixated? Well, Freud argued that if we get fixated at the oral stage, because we've either been overindulged or had oral pleasure withheld, and we're talking about, food, mum may not have fed you or whatever it may be, or may have overfed you. This may result in an obsession with eating, drinking, smoking, or what we consider oral activities. Anal fixation, this can result in obsessive cleanliness, orderliness, or the opposite. It can be slovenliness and disorderliness. Fixation at the phallic stage results in someone who is reckless, narcissistic, vain, and proud. Freud proposed that fixation here was also a cause of homosexuality. So, that's the content just to top you up. We did the bulk of it when we looked at Freud's theory of personality. So a nice little one for you to look at tonight. I'd like you to do a couple of questions. They're just multiple choice questions, but bring the answers with you next time, and we'll go through them at the beginning of the lesson. Question 1. A fixation in the oral stage of development manifested by an obsession with stimulating the mouth. What do we call it? Question 2. A term used to describe his theory of child development during the first 21 months of life, in which an infant's pleasure centres are in the mouth. Question 3. This age the child begins to toilet train, which brings about the child's fascination with which erogenous zone? Question 4. It means sexual desire. Question 5. The feminine Electra complex was posited by Freud as a theoretical counterpart to the Oedipus complex. Oh, I seem to have given you the answer in that question. How foolish of me. Alright, so question 5 is a write-off. Question 6. Psychosexual development that occurs between the ages of 3 and 6. The source of pleasure at this stage is the genitals. Which period is it? I wonder. Sorry, these questions are way too easy. Question 7. Described as the final stage of human psychosexual development, according to Freud's theory, this stage begins at puberty and constitutes mature adult sexuality. Is it A, B, or C? And a child who has not successfully completed this behaviour will become an adult who has been characterised as disorganised, messy, reckless. If the child's tactics are overindulged, then they can form an anally retentive character as an adult. The answer is, watch this space.